Hey YouTube, this is Doc Galt. I want to talk with you guys today about gangs and are you safe from them based upon where you live. And hopefully by the end of this video we can maybe shed some light on that subject. Recently, there has been video that has come across multiple different news agencies about a Venezuelan gang that has taken over numerous apartment complexes over in the Aurora, Colorado area. And I'm not going to post the links to those. You can find them. Multiple different agencies have posted them. Plus, I don't want to get a copyright strike on YouTube for using any of their information. So, are we safe? Are we safe from gangs? Heard a lot of people say, well, you know, Doc, I live out in the country. I live out in the middle of nowhere. I don't have the same threats that a lot of people that live in the city have, and so that doesn't really apply to me. Well, let me tell you, if you do a little bit of research on gangs specific to your area like I did, you might come up with a realization that maybe you're not as immune as you think that you are. And what I did earlier today is I did just that. I looked up different gangs, did some research. And what I came across is an article that I'd like to read to you guys. And maybe it'll shed some light for you guys. Now, I do live like in the middle of nowhere. Like the nearest town to me has like 800 people in it, and so by I guess most people's standards they would think that, you know, small town life, not a lot going on, probably not going to have much gang activity, right? I want you to listen to what I found, okay? Now this information I'm about to give you is just specific more to my area, which is Indiana. All right, this is from a website called the Farmers Exchange. Speaker, Rural Areas Not Free from Gangs by Carolina Keegan. This was published on Friday, March 1st, 2024, so a few months back. Is rural Indiana as safe as people think? Quote, there is a large presence of gang activity in Indiana, end quote, a career gang identification expert said. Quote, we monitor over 50 groups in the state of Indiana currently, end quote. Chris Everhart, a leading expert in rural gang life in Indiana from the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, spoke at the AG Women Engage conference last week in Fort Wayne. His message to farm women and families was to avoid dangerous situations by keeping an eye out for gang signs when hiring new employees. Everhart became involved in gang identification early on in his career after he noticed similar tattoos on a group of men being charged with rape. During this investigation, he realized there was very little information on gangs in Indiana, and he began to document gang activities across the state. In 2003, after building a new jail in Jackson County, other counties began transferring inmates to their facility. In that year, Everhart began noticing an influx in gang activity, and at the height of this influx was assaulted and stabbed by a gang member. Quote, he was in our jail from a rural county in Indiana, but his rap sheet was that he just served 25 years for attempted murder on a police officer in New York, end quote, he said. Quote, that's when I really started paying attention to gangs and learning their tattoos and graffiti and what their gang signs and symbols are. He traveled with the National Gang Task Force for years following this event, documenting gang signs, symbols, and habits. Since 2006, he has been traveling across Indiana, teaching law enforcement agencies to recognize and address gang activities in their communities. Quote, gangs have been in rural Indiana probably longer than what most of us want to recognize, end quote, he said. A criminal gang is defined as a group of 3 or more individuals who identify themselves with a certain symbol or color, and they commit crimes as a group. Farmers need to be aware of gangs in their area because there have been instances of gang violence on the farm, Everett said. Quote, why are gangs going country? Because 30 years ago, gangster rap kind of hit the scene, and then we started seeing it in the suburbs because those inner city gangs like Chicago. Because we're so close to Chicago, their gang suppression efforts kind of pushed some of their gang activity to the suburbs and then just kind of started pushing it outside, end quote, he said. Another reason gangs are moving to the country is to expand their criminal business. Quote, if I can buy drugs cheap in Indianapolis or Cincinnati and then sell them for a lot more in a place like Seymour, Indiana, a lot of gangs will go where the money is, end quote, he said. This includes rural communities, college campuses, and the military. Migration of families to the small towns and denial from rural communities also accounts for problems with gangs in Indiana, he said. He gave an example of a young gang member who moved to Indiana from Los Angeles, who proudly told Everhart about the first fish he caught. Quote, he loves living in a smaller town for the same reasons we do, end quote, Everhart said. His focus at the conference was on the Hispanic gangs of Indiana because those are the groups agricultural facilities are most likely to come across when hiring employees. However, they are not the only gangs within the state. Some others include motorcycle gangs, white supremacists, Haitian gangs, and groups from Chicago and Detroit, among others. The common Hispanic gangs of Indiana include 18th Street, MS-13, and Sureños, and the Vatos Locos. Everhart warned that many gang members today are not like those portrayed on TV, but oftentimes will work an honest job by day and then get involved in illegal activities in their free time. Because of this, he has seen instances where farmers unknowingly hire gang members. One such instance Everhart gave was a poultry farm that hired 2 rival gang members. For months, there were no problems, and the 2 men worked side by side. But upon realizing they were rivals, one picked up a knife and stabbed the other. Farmers should watch for versions of the number 18, including a hand sign that forms a 1 and an 8 by lifting the forefinger and forming a circle with the thumb and ring finger, with the middle finger propped on top of the middle finger. Other versions include XV111, XV3, and 666. They can show up in graffiti, tattoos, and on clothing such as sports jerseys. Quote, gang members like to hide their tattoos, end quote, Everhart said. showing a photo of a man's tattoo. It was a hand holding a rosary, but the rosary had only 18 beads, symbolizing the 18th Street. The 18th Street Gang originated in Los Angeles in the 1960s and has since migrated east. Their rival, MS-13, has ties to the Mexican Mafia. They use a hand sign which employs the use of both hands, one in the form of an upside-down devil horns using the index finger and pinky for the M, and the other in the form of the, quote, hang loose, end quote, symbol, using the thumb and the pinky, which forms an S. A common tattoo he finds is MS with 3 dots beside it. Just the 3 dots represent the phrase "Mi vida loco," or "my crazy life," but together is a gang tag. They are also known to wear sports memorabilia with their number on it. MS-13 has been in the state since 1998, according to Everhart. He said they have a presence in Warsaw. They originated in El Salvador, but there are also groups in Guatemala and Honduras, and have ties to the Mexican Mafia. They use the colors blue and white in honor of El Salvador's flag. Everhart shared that he went on a farm visit once and saw 26 cars with blue bandanas tied to their rearview mirrors and El Salvador flags. Either one of these alone is okay, he said, but together they are suspicious. Another gang that uses the number 13 is the Sureños, or SUR-13. Everhart said this gang has a large presence in Indiana, which also has ties to the Mexican Mafia. The number 13 pays homage to the Mexican Mafia because M is the 13th letter of the alphabet. They, like MS-13, use the color blue. So blue jerseys or other clothing with the number 13 on them can indicate either SUR-13 or MS-13. Everhart said LA is becoming a common tattoo for these young gang members because L is the 12th letter of the alphabet and A is the first, adding up to 13. Also, X3 can also stand for 13. Quote, "It's not always tattoos. It can be scars," end quote, he said. So what can farmers do if they see signs around their farms and in their employee bathrooms? Get a security guard, paint the graffitied areas, and fire anyone who is caught drawing and painting graffiti, because this counts as destruction of property. Quote, "It's not against the law to be a gang member. It's only against the law to participate in committing a crime," end quote, Everhart said. When asked what the main takeaway is from his presentation, Everhart said farmers should be observant, reach out to learn more about the signs and symbols, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Anyone who is interested in learning more can reach out to Everhart at, and then it gives his email address on here and a phone number. So, what I'm getting at is you may think that you're safe in an area, but you may not be as safe as what you think that you are. And I would highly recommend that you start looking up information for your area and just see for yourself what gangs are out there. What are you seeing? You know, look around. I'll be honest with you, since I have lived in my area for about the last 7 years, I don't notice a lot of like the 13 stuff that they're talking. But I'll tell you one thing that I do notice a lot, though. I notice like these lightning bolts that some guys have, and like the swastikas and all that kind of stuff. I see that, definitely. So that kind of gives me a heads up as far as what's going on. And I think it's important for people to be educated about this stuff, because it will give you an indicator or a clue as to the type of people that are around you, and will expound upon your situational awareness as far as what may be happening. Corsair Trainers talks a lot about doing area surveys, for your area where you live. And I would definitely recommend that you do that. Do an area survey and find out what the potential threats are. And, after you see some of these videos of what I was telling you about at the beginning of the video, regarding these Venezuelan gangs kicking in these apartment doors by force, it doesn't really matter what the politicians say, because there are politicians that will tell you that, this is just an isolated event, and that this isn't just this is just a one-time deal and it's not a pattern. Well, in my opinion, if they're taking over apartment complexes, that's not an isolated event to me. That's a reoccurring behavior, and it's spreading. And, we need to be aware of it, and, I believe that we need to be prepared for that. And, so I won't get into the nuts and bolts of how you can prepare for that, because what I will tell you is that Corsair Trainers has a whole myriad of videos on how to harden your property and how to harden yourself from becoming a victim from people like this. So I would definitely recommend that you go over to his channel, because he's already done the hard work. He's already put in the hours, and probably he's able to explain it a lot better than I have, because he has a background with gangs as far as knowing about that subject. So I will leave that topic with you guys to investigate more in depth. In other news, last night we canned about 10 pounds of ground beef in the canner, and that turned out wonderful. Today I have 8 pounds of ground chicken that I'm going to do tonight, so I am on a roll as far as canning and getting the freezer cleaned out for this coming November. So things are moving along very, very well. I hope all you guys are doing very well, and I hope that you take this stuff seriously and you really think about what are you going to do if you got a group of 3, 4, 5 individuals that come banging on your door at some weird time of the day or night, and they want to gain entry to your home. What options that you have at your disposal. So I will leave that to you guys to investigate. Please go over to Corsair Trainers and check out his videos. He's got a ton of them that will explain this a lot more in detail. As always, I tell you guys, thank God for every day that you have. Thank the angels for the work that they do in your life. This is Doc Galt, and I will catch you guys in the next video. God bless and take care. I'll see you. All right, bye-bye.